Hello and welcome. Tonight, the president reaffirmed support for the presidential candidate of the APC. Senator Bola Tinubu says he's 100% behind him during the party's campaign in Gombe State. Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi shifts his campaign focus to the grassroots as he meets with supporters in Lagos markets. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises to revive and develop long-abandoned Calabar port if elected president as he campaigns in Cross River State.
Now on business news tonight, International Air Travel Association data shows post-pandemic recovery in aviation sector as air travel rises to 68.5% in 2022.
On sports news tonight, France forward Kylian Mbappe returns to Paris Saint-Germain's squad for the Champions League last 16, first leg against Bayern Munich following a thigh injury.
And from the nation's capital, as part of preparations for the 2023 general election, the president inaugurates various equipment for the Nigeria police, says world spotlight is on all.
His promise to make Nigeria work for Nigerians if elected as president. Well, Mr. Obi was speaking during his grassroots campaign to some markets in Lagos State. Our correspondent, Timothy Crown Aderibigbe, reports.
Presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is visiting some markets in Lagos State to canvass support of market men and women ahead of the February the 25th presidential election. And from what we see so far, it seems he has the backing of some of these market men and women here.
The presidential election is in a fortnight, and Mr. Peter Obi is shifting his campaign to the grassroots with his rally for support from traders in Lagos. Computer Village is his first port of call, and the traders turn out en masse as part of the unscheduled visit.
Anybody who doesn't vote for Obi this time is going on slave. Obi is for workers. Let us, when Yoruba marry, if you say, if your wife is not good, go and marry another. Let us try another.
We need somebody like Peter Obi that is very young, that will do something for the country, that will help the nation. It's what we want for this country. Yes, I have my PVC. I'm supporting Obi. It's the first day I'm going to drop my PVC food.
Whatever the turnout is at the Computer Village, the number is even much more at Ladipo Spare Part Market in the Oshodi area of the state. The excitement on the faces of the traders is unmistakable, and they say their support is not for any immediate benefit.
He understands many things he can do for us. We want someone who will support us, someone who will make us achieve more good things in the country. Not someone that we don't understand the mind of the people.
Mr. Peter Obi's promise is to not dampen the hope in these people should he become president.
As I go around Nigeria, I see millions of Nigerians who are in pain and suffering, yet have all the hope for a country that will come to their aid. And my wish that I have opportunity of salvaging the situation.
The on-days turnout, which the traders claim is the least they can do to demonstrate their support, the promise to come out on Saturday, February the 25th, 2023, which will be much more important. Timothy Crown, Adiribibe, Channels Television News.
For the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, it's time to revive the Calabar port project, which has long been abandoned. He made the promise in Calabar, the capital of Cross River State, during the PDP presidential campaign rally. Mr. Abubakar, who berates the All Progressives Congress government for not doing so much in developing infrastructure in the country, also assured the people that he will link Cross River State with other parts of the country by road and by rail. Our correspondent covering the Atiku Okowa campaign, Emperor Simon, tells us more.
When I was vice president and the issue of development of Calabar Port came, I gave my complete and total support so that the Calabar Depot can be constructed for the benefit of the people of Cross River State and the South and Nigeria in general. And I promise you, if you vote for PDP, for the president and governorship, we will work together with your governors, your legislators, to make sure that we implement this policy which has been grounded by APC. Since APC came, that project is dead. You must have heard those who have stolen the money for that project. Don't worry, we will get there.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council in Rivers State has cancelled its rally in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. At a media briefing in Port Harcourt, the chairman of the campaign council in the state, Senator Lee Meaba, said the rally is cancelled following a series of attacks on and arrest of its members. According to Senator Meaba, the Atiku campaign organization in Rivers State does not want to resort to self-help and calls on President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene and ensure that the security agencies in Rivers State act professionally. The rally was scheduled to hold in the state tomorrow, Tuesday, February the 14th. Staying in River State, Nyesom Wike, the state governor, says he is not surprised that the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council put off its rally in the state. Governor Wike says the decision is expected because none of the members of the council in River State has the political clout to mobilize an encouraging number of supporters for the rally. Governor Wike was speaking at the state PDP rally in Akukutoro local government area.
The latest port of call for the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State is Akukutoro local government area, as the party pushes further its agenda on consolidation and continuity. In this locality, the party is capitalizing on the construction of the first phase of the landmark Trans-Calabari Road, amongst other projects, to solicit their votes with a promise to do more.
One of our promises this afternoon is to promise the good people of Akukutoro and Kalawari as a whole that the second phase of Trans-Calabari Road, we will not just start it, but we will say complete it. All those who spoke.
Governor Nyesom Wike, whose administration's projects and policies form the benchmark for the party's campaign in the state, assures that the next PDP government will complete any project he has started.
When I came for campaign, every politician that has come to Calabari land, one thing you hear, if you vote for me, I will do Trans-Calabari Road. If you vote for me, I will do Trans-Calabari Road. Has anyone done it? No. No way. Has anyone done it? No. I came here. I told you, vote for us. If you vote for us, I will do it. Have I done it? Yes. Yes. Have I done it? Yes.
He also reacts to the cancellation of his party's presidential campaign rally in the state, describing those in charge as not having the political capacity to mobilize supporters.
They know they have no capacity to fill the stadium. They are looking for excuses. They went and forced themselves to government land at Transamadi. I said, no,
That was not where I gave you. Where I gave you is Adoke and Messimata. Go and fill that place. Then I said, no, we won't go again. We don't want people to die. Who is killing who? Nobody.
The River State PDP leaders are leaving Akukutoro with the assurances from their supporters that they will win in the area.
We're still talking political campaigns, and this time in Gombe State, where the president today restated his full support for the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, saying he's behind the APC flag bearer 100%. President Muhammadu Buhari's message was delivered by the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Mr. Issa Pantami, during the party's presidential campaign in Gombe State.
The campaign train of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, lands at the Gombe International Airport and was received by his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, APC National Chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, Governor Inuwa Yahya, and other party chieftains. Leaders of the party want the Northeast to acknowledge the efforts of the APC administration in rebuilding the region.
The APC administration helped us to discover oil here. The entire Northeast would have to reciprocate this gesture by voting for the APC in appreciation. APC is well grounded in Gombe State, and we will win all elections comfortably. I urge you all to vote for the APC at all levels.
An excited Tinubu applauds the people of Gombe State for the reception, promising to deliver dividends of democracy when elected.
You will see rapid development that will make Gombe State one of the richest in Nigeria or Africa.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, who also addressed the supporters on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari, pleads with the voters to support the party and its candidates at all levels.
President Muhammadu Buhari has declared support for Tinubu and all candidates of the APC in the forthcoming elections. His support is binding on everyone in this administration to equally support all candidates.
Nigeria! Nigeria!
Others in attendance were the Director General of the party's Presidential Campaign Council, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, Governor Maima Labuni of Yobe State, Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State, and Governor Muhammad Badaru of Jigawa State.
In part two, after the break, the president inaugurates various equipment for the Nigeria police, says world spotlight is on all law enforcement agencies. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. The president reaffirmed support for the presidential candidate of the APC, Senator Bola Tinubu, says he's 100% behind him during the party's campaign in Gombe State. Labour Party presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi shifts his campaign focus to the grassroots as he meets with supporters in Lagos markets. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises to revive and develop long-abandoned Calabar port if elected president as he campaigns in Cross River State. And survivors of the huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria that has claimed at least 35,000 lives are miraculously still being pulled from the rubble. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC says 240 polling units across the country do not have any registered voters, which will impede the conduct of the general elections in those locations. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu made this known after a meeting with political parties in Abuja. He explained that the Commission had made efforts to redistribute voters to polling units in order to avoid the congestion that made voting cumbersome in previous elections.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is meeting leaders of political parties ahead of the 2023 general elections. This meeting is to bring the political parties up to speed with INEC's preparations for the 2023 general elections. The INEC chairman also used the opportunity to provide updates on the status of the polling units across the country.
At previous meetings, we also briefed you on our efforts to redistribute voters to the polling units in order to avoid the congestion that made voting cumbersome in many of them nationwide. There are 240 polling units without registered voters. No new registrants choose the polling units and no voters indicated interest to transfer to them during the last continuous voter registration exercise, mainly for security reasons. This means that no elections will be held in these polling units.
The political parties are satisfied with INEC's preparations. However, they want the electoral body not to consider postponing the elections.
I would want to admonish party leaders that having observed that the elections are conducted free, fair, and credible, the result should be accepted for the love of our country. Mr. Chairman, under no circumstances should this election be postponed.
Good afternoon. At a separate meeting with a delegation from the United States, the INEC chairman reassures the international community that the votes will count.
We want to assure and reassure you that we are on the same page in our total commitment to a credible, free and fair process, and to assure Nigerians that we'll uphold only that which transpires at the polling units.
Meanwhile, the United States envoy underscores the need for peaceful elections.
Nigeria matters. You matter to the people of Nigeria, to the sub-region, to the continent, and indeed to the international community. And we want to encourage a successful election that is free and fair and peaceful. And I am happy to say that I have great confidence that you will have a successful election.
It's barely 2 weeks to the commencement of the 2023 general elections, and more of these consultative meetings are expected as INEC prepares to ensure that the elections are peaceful and credible.
Right, let's now head to the nation's capital where Terry Ikumi is standing by to give us the very latest from Abuja. Terry, over to you.
Indeed, Ayo, good evening. Now, as the nation prepares for the 2023 general election, the president says that the eyes of the nation and the global community are on the Nigeria police and all law enforcement agencies. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this today when he commissioned the newly procured police operational assets, vehicles, crowd control and anti-riot equipment at the force headquarters in Abuja. He expressed confidence in the level of preparedness of the police for the conduct of the polls. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuki reports.
Barely 11 days to the general elections, the Nigeria police have begun to pile up equipments newly procured to match the demands of the season. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives at the force headquarters in Abuja, but first an inspection of quarter guards. Determined to leave no one in doubt about how the country's law enforcement is bracing up to confront situations either during or after the elections, the police carries out demonstrations of the crowd control rapid deployment barrier, among others.
I renew my assurances to Mr. President and the nation that in line with Your Excellency's charge,
The Nigeria police will be apolitical and impartial and shall deliver on our election security mandates within the context of democratic values and best practices. We have, in furtherance to this, in place adequate machineries that will, in most proactive manner, identify, isolate, and bring to book any political actor that plans to disrupt the political process.
President Buhari equally inspects operational assets, including 45 armored personnel carriers, patrol vehicles, ammunitions, riot control agents, among others, totaling about 127. The police chief had briefed the president and members of the National Council of State on the preparedness of the police to counter any outbreak of law and order during the election. Nevertheless, the president had a word of caution for all security agencies.
In this task, I call on the Inspector General of Police and indeed all law enforcement agencies that will be complementing the police in the election security process to note that the eyes of the nation and the global community will be on you all.
The president announced a significant accomplishment of his plans to reposition the Nigeria police force and expects that the next administration will sustain his initiative and the drive. From Abuja, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police says there are concerns that the current internal security realities in the country could impact on the peaceful electoral process as well as the credibility of the 2023 general election. According to him, activities of the Eastern Security Network, bandits, and those of the Oduduwa Nation agitators, whom he claimed have been attempting to amass weapons and mobilize all the resources towards disrupting the peace, security, and electoral process in the Southwest geopolitical zone, constitute grave concerns. The police chief stated this during a meeting with strategic police managers in Abuja, adding that the security agencies will not allow any person or group to derail the electoral process. In other stories, the Director of Special Projects and New Media of the APC, Chief Femi Fani Kayode, has been released on bail by the Department of State Services after being grilled for about 6 to 7 hours today to report back on Wednesday. He had appeared at the DSS office in Abuja to answer questions on the allegations he was said to have made about some army generals plotting with some presidential candidates to scuttle the 2023 general election and carry out a coup d'etat against the government. DSS spokesperson Peter Afunaya had explained in a statement that the former minister reported to the DSS at 9 a.m. in response to the invitation extended to him. The military has since debunked the allegation by Chief Fani Kayode, describing it as baseless. On Sunday, the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, also called on the DSS not to ignore the APC chieftain's comment, but invite him over for questioning. Now, the Lagos state government has ordered a coroner's inquest to ascertain the cause of death in the case of the late Whitney Adeniro, which occurred on February the 9th during the school's inter-house sports activities. The family members of Whitney, who believe the state government's directive to close the school is not in full effect, gathered at the entrance of the school on Monday to register their grievance. Our correspondent Dari Ido reports.
No medical personnel, nobody. There was no emergency provision on ground in a place where you have over 500 students, in a place where you have over 100 parents, in a country where...
This video, a cry for help from Whitney Adeniro's mother, a 12-year-old student of Christland International Schools who died during the school's inter-house sports activities at Agege Stadium in Lagos.
I don't like attention in my life.
Since the video emerged, there have been several reactions from different quarters, yet a lot to unravel.
Can you imagine them really do that? This school don't care. Yes, they don't care.
The spokesperson of the police command in Lagos confirmed that the case has been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department, PANTI.
The parents contacted the police and we've commenced investigations. Well, what we have on ground is a young girl died, and the death is a bit suspicious. That's all we have for now, but we're investigating. The results of the autopsy will shed more light on it.
On Sunday evening, the Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Education, ordered a temporary closure of the school, pending the outcome of the investigation. The police stand guard at the entrance of the school, but family members of the deceased said they got information that the directive of the state government is not effective. This is not the first time the Lagos state government will be ordering a school be shut down under suspicious circumstances, especially relating to the death of a child. Neither is it the first time this particular school will be running into a scandal, but this time around, the family of the deceased is suspecting of foul play and insisting the school be shut down.
Justice for Whitney Adeniran. If the state government has issued an order that the school, Chrisland, should be shut down, it should be shut down.
Vehicles moved in and out of the premises, and the scene became charged in a dramatic turn of events.
Why will you be here today? You heard the news. Why are you here today? You are challenging me. Your child. Will you be here today?
When the school is ready to make a statement, you'll be called and you'll be addressed.
Yes, sir.
Listen to me, please. Okay. We do not want people to be rowdy and disturb people that are coming in to either sympathize with the family.
Which family?
Do not harass and stop our guests from coming
Which
in.
guests?
This is
Hold
also a family property.
Let's hold on.
Listen to me.
Which family?
This is a family property.
Which family?
This is the Awushika family property. It's also a school. Listen to me,
okay,
please.
Sir.
Well, I'm not addressing you on behalf of the school. But people that are coming to see us, you are harassing them and are stopping them.
We cannot allow them.
You will not allow people to enter their own compound.
Which compound?
Possible.
We cited this boss from the Ministry of Education, thought we could get some answers.
Good afternoon, sirs. Are you here for enforcement? Are you here for enforcement, sirs?
The school in a statement condoled with the parents of the deceased student and said it awaits the outcome of an independent post-mortem process, as Whitney's parents insist that the school is being economical with the truth. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, International Air Transport Association data shows post-pandemic recovery in aviation sector as air traffic rises to 68.5% in 2022. That's on Business News. Join us again.
Welcome back. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has described as the first of its kind a 12-story building, Trinity Towers, housing the City of David, a branch of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Victoria Island, Lagos. The Vice President was speaking at the dedication of the church building, which was attended by other dignitaries, including the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The pastor of City of David, Idowu Iluyomade, said that the project took over 5 years to execute.
The Redeemed Christian Church of God, City of David, dedicates Trinity Tower, a 12-floor-story building with multipurpose functions, housing a 5,000-seater concert hall, food court, rooftop tennis court, a helipad, 2 cinema halls, multi-story car park for 670 cars, rooftop swimming pool, game arcade, medical center, cafe and restaurant, and lots more. All facilities will be revealed post-dedication. The magnificent edifice is clearly the largest church in Nigeria. As the service begins, the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, arrives with his wife. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo also arrives, as well as the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The service theme, being the zeal of the Lord, perfectly describes the ambience and cheerful look on most of the attendants, including the host pastors. Several musical renditions from the choir are performed in Thanksgiving spirit, including performances from instrumentalists and guest artists.
The proceeds from this building, its builders have said, will be dedicated to the work of the social responsibility of the church, feeding of the poor, building of schools, building of hospitals for those who cannot afford to use them.
Keep clapping.
The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, himself a member of the City of David, describes the Trinity Tower as a befitting edifice that every member of the church should be proud of.
This is not just a sanctuary. This is a befitting edifice that God himself will be proud of. This is an architectural feat, a well thought out project, and a one that indeed gladdens the heart of everyone.
The General Overseer of the Church, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, leads the congregation in short worship, followed by a sermon.
Because you came today, my God will reward you by solving all your problems.
Thanksgiving continues as more musical performances are rendered. Parishioners dance and sing along joyfully.
The vision was given to us by God. I had a vision in 1995 concerning the great things God is going to do in our lives. And that inspired us, once God has backed something, it has to come to pass.
It's awesome. It's something that is just mind-blowing when you really look at what has come out from just a vision. And the vision really is to be able to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ right across all the world, and to do the very things which he has mandated us to do, to help the sick, to feed the hungry, to clothe the poor.
With the successful launch of the multifunctional facility, Trinity Tower gives room for worship and recreational activities for users and parishioners.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom. Will?
Thanks, Ayo. Now, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, says recovery in the aviation sector is on track despite current macroeconomic headwinds. Data from IATA's latest economics chart shows that passenger traffic gained momentum globally and rose to 68.5% in 2022, recovering from 41.7% recorded in 2021 as airlines continue to demonstrate resilience in a challenging post-pandemic environment. IATA attributes this growth to consumers' strong willingness to travel wherever travel restrictions have been removed. Meanwhile, air cargo demand in 2022, measured by cargo ton kilometers, was 8% lower than in 2021. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, says it has evacuated 502 million liters of premium malted spirits, PMS, in 1 week to filling stations across the country. This is contained in the company's weekly PMS evacuation and dispatch report released in Abuja for February 4 to 10. According to the report, about 72 million liters of PMS were evacuated daily for the week under review. The report further states that 87% of all the evacuation took place at the country's top 30 loading depots, while other loading depots evacuated the remaining 13% of the total volume. Lagos and Abuja saw the largest number of truck dispatches, recording 2,267 and 707 trucks, respectively. NNPC Limited reiterates its commitment to a sustaining collaboration with all downstream stakeholders to ensure all filling stations in the country have sufficient fuel supply. And the Chief Aggregating Officer of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, Mr. Hussein Olarinwaju, has been speaking on the reason for high charges by operators. Mr. Olarinwaju, who was a guest on Business Morning earlier today, assures that the association has formed a task force to curb the excesses of some members.
As regards to the high rate of charges the POS agents are charging,
we as an association have gone against it, and we have warned our members to desist from that. However, the reality is these cash are not readily available. As we used to have the market woman, the big merchant who have access to cash, before now, they give out those cash and you transfer normal. But now, then, which is the market people, the traders are also selling the cash. For 5,000 naira, I think I pay up to 2,000 naira to access 5,000 naira. It's crazy, but it's the reality. And we are trying to use task force joint with security operative to, curb the excesses of agents that.
Now in the UK, a union representing Amazon workers have announced plans for 7 more strike days in a dispute over pay. According to the GMB union, more than 350 staff at the fulfillment center in Coventry will walk out on February 28th, March 2nd, and from March 13th to 17th. This marks an escalation in their pay fight, which began with a 24-hour strike last month, the first official walkout to hit the e-commerce giant's operations in the UK in their campaign for a pay rate of £15 per hour. Now, the equities market kicks off the first trading day of the week with bullish sentiments. Some of the big guys in the oil and gas, banking and industrial goods indexes were responsible for this upbeat performance. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, brand new trading week and the local bourse starts off in positive territory with a marginal gain. And it's not so bad, 0.07%, almost the loss we had last week, but 54,364 points, market cap 29.610 trillion naira. That's where we are today. Let's look at the activity chart. We see volume lower than what we had on Friday, 140 million units of stocks, valued at 3.15 billion naira. Deals more, 3,553 deals. Let's look at the sectoral performance. We see banking there, 0.56% up, over 0.5% thanks to stocks like Access Core, Zenith Bank, and some Tier 2 banks adding to their share prices. They're taking that counter up. Oil and gas, that's a no-brainer there. Corn oil adding 3 naira 20 kobo, and MRS they're adding 1 naira 75 kobo. We'll see this almost 1% gain for the oil and gas counter. Same with consumer goods, marginal gain 0.05%. Nice way to start the week. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Let's see if investors show some love to the local bourse with some buying pressure. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
And that's it on Business News. It's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Will. As hopes of finding more survivors in the rubble fade, the combined death toll in Turkey and neighboring Syria from last week's 7.8 magnitude earthquake has risen above 37,000. Our London correspondent Juliana Olanka arrived in Istanbul earlier today and has been spending time with local aid groups on the ground.
Straddling Europe and Asia across the iconic Bosphorus Strait, residents of Turkey's largest city are a few miles away from the horror their fellow citizens are enduring in the southeast. People here have their own issues to contend with, like a tanking economy and sky-high inflation, issues that have to be pushed aside, for now. Istanbul has become a focal point for the hundreds of aid agencies desperate to offer support. Volunteers have left their lives from across the world and are willing to join the search and rescue missions. Those people are not courting public sympathy.
So as to be expected, it's pretty difficult to get a hold of people, but I've hopped into a taxi because I'm told that some international doctors have set up a makeshift HQ so they can get to some of the disaster zones, which is just about an hour away from this bustling city.
We just sincerely apologize for that audio which wasn't there in that report. Moving on, the U.S. White House says China has a balloon program connected to its army, but that it is of limited benefit to its surveillance efforts. Well, it comes as Beijing accuses the U.S. of flying its own balloons over China, as something the White House has already denied. Well, Simon Pusey has more on this, on the rescues that is, from the Kuwait sites in around the world and far.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Survivors of the huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria that has claimed at least 35,000 lives are miraculously still being pulled from the rubble. Here, a 4-year-old named Mirai rescued after 178 hours trapped within the concrete. And here, a China-led team in Antakya, freeing a man who was trapped for over 150 hours in a collapsed residential building. However, rescue operations are now being called off in several areas. Survivors near the Turkish epicenter here, camping outside collapsed buildings to receive the bodies of their relatives. Drone footage showed massive cracks on a highway in Kahramanmaraş. The UN's AIDS chief says the rescue phase is coming to a close, with urgency now switching to provide shelter, food, schooling and psychological care.
We're looking at the first 3 months. So the appeals that will go out in the next day or so, one for Syria, one for Turkey, will cover about 3 months of the humanitarian needs. Because what we've seen happening in these zones of the earthquake is that the rescue phase is dragging live people out from the rubble and finding those who died in the rubble. That's coming to a close.
China's foreign ministry says the US has flown balloons into its airspace more than 10 times in the past year. Wang Wenbin made the accusation at a regular press briefing, saying that it wasn't uncommon for the US to illegally enter the airspace of other countries. It comes after the US on the 4th of February shot down a suspected spy balloon over its airspace, which China said was a civilian balloon. Relations between the two countries have since deteriorated. In recent days, the US says it has also shot down a number of other devices. Cambodia's leader Hun Sen has shut down one of the country's last independent media outlets just months before the country's election. Hun Sen said a Facebook post on Sunday that VOD, or the Voice of Democracy, had published a story last week that hurt his government's reputation. He has refused to accept the group's apology, cancelling its license on Monday. Advocates say VOD's loss is a major blow to the nation's limited press. Some 46,000 homes have lost power as Cyclone Gabrielle lashes the north of New Zealand. Authorities have issued warnings of heavy rain and winds, and hundreds of flights have been cancelled. Some areas have declared a state of emergency as Gabrielle nears the North Island. It comes weeks after Auckland and surrounding areas were hit by record rainfall that sparked floods and killed 4 people. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins announced a $7.3 million aid package.
Severe weather is on the way. Weather is notoriously unpredictable, so we don't know exactly what that severe weather is going to entail, but everyone across the country should be prepared for that.
A move by Uganda's government to close the United Nations local human rights office has drawn strong criticism from opposition leaders and activists, who say it highlights the country's worsening record on civil liberties. The government told the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights last week that it would not renew the mandate of its office in the East African country, effectively expelling the rights monitors. Critics of the government of President Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, say human rights violations continue with torture, extrajudicial killings, illegal detentions and abductions are all commonplace. And finally, nearly 9,000 people have taken part in the 20th International Winter Swimming Rally in Mielno in northwestern Poland. Participants, nicknamed walruses in Poland, braved the 2-degree water temperature of the Baltic Sea. The practice of winter swimming is a long-standing tradition in the country, with people immersing themselves in cold water to improve their health and boost their immunity. The event, which has been organised in Mielno since 2004, was attended by people from several European countries, including Germany, Ireland, Scotland, Slovakia and Hungary. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
All right, let's now join Jeffrey Uzono, who's standing by to give us the very latest in the world of sports.
thanks, and welcome to Sports News. The Nigeria Basketball Federation has invited 21 players to the Tigers camp ahead of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers billed for Luanda, Angola from February 24th to the 26th. The list includes 19 home-based professionals and 2 foreign-based players. The team will be managed by Rivers Hoopers head coach Ogo Oduodu and assisted by Rabban Jibril and Abdulrahman Mohammed, with 5 slots up for grabs from the African qualifiers to the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Nigeria will play against Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, and Angola. Now, Kylian Mbappe has been named in Paris Saint-Germain's squad for their Champions League last 16 first leg against Bayern Munich on Tuesday, after making a faster-than-expected return to training following a thigh injury. After Mbappe suffered the injury against Montpellier on February the 1st, PSG said he will be out for 3 weeks, but his name featured on the squad of 22 players announced by the French champions today, along with Lionel Messi and Marco Verratti, both of whom sat out the Monaco game owing to injury. PSG are seeking to stay on course to win the Champions League for the first time. Now, Bayern Munich travels to PSG in the Champions League last 16 until Tuesday, knowing defeating the tie will represent a failed season regardless of whatever domestic triumph. After Saturday's home defeat of Bayern Munich manager caught a frustrated figure and looked anything but the coach who had just masterminded a week atop the Bundesliga table. Bayern Munich struggled since resumption of the league after the winter break, as 3 successive 1-1 draws allowed surprise challengers Union Berlin to cut their lead atop the league table to 1 point. And more stories from sport. Tottenham Hotspur goes into the round of 16 first leg match at AC Milan on Tuesday without key midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur, who will miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. Bentancur suffered a ruptured ligament in his left knee in Spurs' 4-1 Premier League defeat at Leicester City on Saturday. Another will be missing, that is Antonio Conte's ears. Bissouma, who had undergone a surgery repair, stress fracture to his left ankle. Goalkeeper Hugo Lloris will also be out with the French international sideline with knee ligament damage. And coach Stefano Pioli has admitted that the economic gap separating AC Milan from English top clubs is getting wider as his team prepares for a Champions League last 16 clash with Tottenham Hotspur. Milan Hotspurs on Tuesday in the opening leg of their first knockout tie in Europe's top club competition since 2014. A match which comes after another transfer window of the record spending by Premier League, which surpassed the rest of the Europe's top divisions. The last Italian team to win the Champions League was Inter Milan back in 2010, and Pioli is concerned about a yawning divide in spending capacity between English clubs and the rest of other clubs. And that's it on Sports News. I'm Jeffrey Uzan. It's back to you.
Many thanks, Jeffrey. On a programming note, Channels Television will be bringing you a repeat broadcast of an exclusive documentary on the issues of oil theft in Nigeria after the news at 10. This is the result of several months of investigations into the matter. There will be another repeat on Wednesday, February the 15th, 2023 at 11 p.m. as well. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today reaffirmed his support for the presidential candidate of the APC, Senator Bola Tinubu, said he is 100% behind him during the party's campaign in Gombe State. And that's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun from all of us here. Good night and stay safe.